and welcome everyone. My name is Lisa Richard, and I am the Director of New Initiatives and Data and Analytics here at CSols. I have spent my entire career working with laboratory data, whether in the labs on the bench or with planning and implementing informatics systems. I'm excited that today we have a multitude of options when strategizing about integration, but with this, instrument integration has gotten very complex. The options seem endless. Should you connect your instruments to your ELN, to your LIMS, to a data platform, or to complicate things more, should you connect to all of them? Where and when do you combine your data? How do you make sure it's available and accessible to all if needed? Most importantly, how do you choose given the many options that exist today? More and more, this leads to the need for an instrument integration strategy. It's required to ensure you can maximize the value of your data and enable your data-driven decisions. This labyrinth is what keeps our integration team members up at night. They live and breathe lab data and work to integrate it in a way that benefits their clients' organizations. We're fortunate to have three of them here today, as Megan introduced, on this panel. They'll cover integration to informatics systems such as LIMS, ELNs, but also platforms. They'll dip into some technical aspects as well as some strategic, but we really would love for this to be driven by your concerns and interests. So please do log your questions in the Q&A section, as we'll have a 15 to 20-minute Q&A period at the end of this. We do appreciate those who've already sent questions in. Let's go ahead and get started with introductions. So Mike, Nick, and Phil, please take a minute to introduce yourselves in that order, if you will. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. Hey, everyone. My name is Mike Pykuch. I'm a senior informatics consultant at CSols, but I'm also the labware technical lead. So anything labware, usually comes through me. My background is in food microbiology. So I was a LIMS user before I started working in the LIMS system. So I can definitely feel the pain from both sides. I have about 13 years working in LIMS as a developer, and over 10 of those have been at CSols. So I've seen many different kinds of projects. I've worked for over a dozen different customers, ranging from oil and gas all the way to biopharma. So looking forward to talking with everyone today.
Great, thank you. Nick?
Yep. So Nicholas over here, currently technical lead at CSols, mainly involved with the StarLIMS technology. I've been involved with that technology for the last 2 decades. I did my class a bit like many others as a customer I was working into the mining industry, and then turned into joining other different companies doing actually some service and supply and consultancy. Some of the project I did work with was obviously pharma, food, petroleum, clinical studies and trials, CDMOs, and also research. So I've did quite around the block. I've been around the block, so I know a bit. So looking forward to this.
Great, glad you could join us, Nick. And last but not least, Phil.
All right, thanks, Lisa. I'm Phil Callahan, data science consultant here at CSols. I have 20 years of experience in life science. Like the rest of the panel, I started on the bench as a chemist for 5 years, microbiologist for 5 years in pharma. And the last 7 years, I've been on the system side, LIMS and CDS, chromatography, and analytics. So I worked in biotech, industrial manufacturing, but mostly pharma. I have my master's in data science, so I wish I knew then what I know now when I worked on the bench. It saved a lot of time, effort, and cost.
Okay, great. Well, I'm glad you guys could join. Thank you. And I'm glad that we have such a diverse background of industries and systems. Let's go ahead and dive in. Nick, I'm going to start with you. Integrating instruments is a serious investment. Is it worth the time and effort?
Well, the very short answer is the obvious yes. When we're looking at what's happening in the lab, you have your chemist, your lab technician, you have a bunch of people over there, and none of them did sign up to be numbers puncher. They don't want to be looking at an instrument and just retype what they're reading. Some of the direct wins that you're getting from doing those instrument interface, there's some that are the obvious one. You're reducing the number of manual entries. While doing that, it has a repercussion that you're having less human typing errors, or we can blame the keyboard if we want to as well. Some people want to blame the keyboard, fine with that. And those errors, what happened when you have errors in the lab? It opens investigation. Investigation means more time involved, trying to find the source of those, the root cause of those problems. So all in all, it's a gain. And sometimes we forget the magnitude of what's happening in the lab. In some industries, like the smelting of minerals, what is being tested in the lab is the size of a peppercorn, and the results of the precious material found into the peppercorn is extrapolated to the size of a train car. So we sometimes forget that what we're testing has huge multiplication on the values of what's happening.
Okay, great. Phil, as our resident data scientist, do you want to weigh in, especially from the perspective of platforms and the value and effort?
Yeah, someone who comes in typically downstream after all this data has been integrated to mine insights and uncover optimization opportunities. I'm usually in favor of some sort of platform presence if you can do it, like a data lake or data warehouse. Just makes it so much easier to automate analytics solution later if you're thinking about combining data, from other systems like supply chain, CDS, other instruments, document management systems. So
When we're talking about, is it worth it from a platform perspective? If you don't have the platform, how easy is that integration, right? Is the value of the effort, does it increase with the platform deployments?
yeah, the answer can vary, but you have two options, right? You can keep your same systems and then just extract and then combine them at some point later after the integration, or just put all your data into a data lake or platform just right away, knowing that you're going to want to use it downstream at some point. And so if you want, the bottom line is, if you want to combine, find interactions between different data, you're going to need to combine the data sets at some point. So
it's whether you do it up front or downstream.
yeah. Right.
Okay.
And yeah, and I mean, if you want to do just like a one-off, if you just really want to concentrate and drill down on specific data, or if you're interested in, we'll want to probably look at this later. So that cost will vary depending on what you want to do with it.
Okay, great. So clearly it adds value, but given today's technology options, how complicated is it really? And what needs to be considered with regards to an instrument to be able to integrate regardless of which system you're choosing? So let's go ahead and start with you, Mike, for this one.
Yeah, the complexity, it can really vary. So one of the first things you really need to look at is how your instrument is connecting. So, the most basic instruments, think like a pH meter or a balance, they might have a super simple integration like USB, a direct cable right into the computer, or even a serial port, which is even older. And those present challenges, especially with remote systems like we have, where you have laptops that are moving around and things like that. You don't want to be plugging, unplugging instruments all the time. We have devices that we've been using for a long time, typically refer to them as Lantronix boxes. So those convert serial results right into a network. You get an IP address, and then you can access those instruments from a laptop or any other system. And then you move on to a little more complex instruments, kind of in the middle range.